Good morning. Today is March 28th, 2023, and we'd like to welcome you all to the Kubeflow community meeting on this Tuesday. It's an exciting week. We're getting ready to release Kubeflow 1.7 this week, so we'll be going over an update on that. I'd like to remind everyone that this meeting is being recorded, and it is subject to the Kubeflow Code of Conduct. And we definitely have an agenda that is action-packed today. As always, it seems like we get a lot of great items on here. Before we jump into the release update, I'd like to ask, is there anyone new who would like to introduce themselves to the community?
Yes, sure. Yining's here. So I think it's the first time I'm joining. Actually, I'm a user, and I think with a couple of you, I have already spoken to or discussed about. I'm very interested in the Kubeflow. So I'm a data scientist from the Children's Hospital of Munich. And I would like to get more involved in the Kubeflow community. So basically, we have on-prem Kubeflow system distributed and doing the machine learning stuff on that to build models for medical usage. So it's kind of like, I'm not very good at programming in the Kubeflow, but more doing the Python stuff or user side. It's all about me. Thanks.
Welcome, and that's very exciting. I am sure there are many interesting applications, and I hope that all the members of the community can help as you have questions. Watch for. Are you on Slack already?
Yes. I think I also bring up a couple of the wishes for the new features. So very busy at doing that. Thanks.
All right, great, right. So you're already hooked up. Anybody else that would like to say hello? Fantastic. Any items that anyone would like to add on to the agenda? I know we have a long agenda. If you don't have the list in front of you, fine, but just call it out if you have an item that needs to be added to the agenda.
Can you maybe scroll down to the agenda?
Well, it's pretty long. So the first thing we'll talk about is the release update, which we'll get to Dominic here in a few short a minute or so. But here, I'm just trying to clean this up. We're going to talk about, after the agenda, we'll talk about the blog post, the presentation, the CNCF transition, the user survey, KubeCon, community meeting that are coming up, the design language improvement proposal, ML, auto ML conformance testing proposal, the new registry kind of back and forth that we got from Docker. Should we look at alternatives to Slack? Talk about Ray, talk about MLflow, talk about the security team. I'd like to talk about awards for contributors. How do we provide benefits to contributors? And then some things about tribal knowledge. And then we have some Kubeflow stats here at the end. Does that help, Julius? Is there anything you want to add?
I think you should speed up, Josh.
Yeah, we have quite a bit to go over. So,
yeah.
I'm trying to clean this up a bit. Dominic, I'm gonna, in the interest of time, get to you, and let's see if we can get through this in some reasonable amount. Where do you want to present, or just tell me where to go?
Yeah, just to stay in the alignment section, that's good. So the release is happening tomorrow. Things are lining up for it to happen. On the code side, we are right now building the last images for Kubeflow. Kubeflow, that is the last component left for the final release. Cat-hip training, pipelines, K-surf, they all are on the final version. So now we just need to add the manifest from Kubeflow to the manifest, and then we have a final 1.7 release cut. The thing that right now is the biggest blocker is the blog post. We have a PR open, and we already got some feedback from John, you and Andre regarding the blog post. I would really appreciate if any other working group lead can take a look, just give it +1. And if someone from Google can take a look, the CI for that PR is failing right now. It would be really good to understand what's happening there and how we can fix it. Mainly the goal is for this blog post to be merged by tomorrow so that we can publish it at the same time as we're actually releasing, so that we can attach the blog post to our release announcement. So yeah, that's right now the biggest blocker. We need to make sure that blog post gets merged. Besides that, there are some documentation PRs that also are still pending, mostly like the drop-down menu for the versions and the release page for 1.7. Those two are still pending. And I want to do another reminder for all the distributions that are going to be ready on release date. Make sure to open a PR until tomorrow so that we can merge it before we cut the 1.7 branch for the documentation. If you don't open a PR before that, we will have to cherry pick it so that people that actually look at the 1.7 documentation will see that you are currently supporting 1.7 as a distribution. It's not a big deal if you're not ready by tomorrow, we can cherry pick it. But just if you're going to be ready, try to have a PR in that table for all the distributions that say their versions, like just change your version if you're supporting it. I know that the IBM already has done it. I know that Canonical has already done it. I think someone else also. So there are some distributions that are up to date, but if you're one that hasn't yet, make sure to do it. And regarding the presentation, we're going to record a video presenting the 1.7 release. We're going to do that a bit later. So basically, we're finalizing the slides right now, and we're going to record it probably by next week. So we will have it out in like 1 or 2 weeks. So yeah, the video for our release will be a bit later than the release itself. But right now, highest priority is let's make sure we have the blog post out by tomorrow, and let's sure we finalize the documentation. That's it from me. Any questions? That sounds like everything was very clear. Again, if someone from Google can help me out with the blog post PR, I would very much appreciate that. Just ping me on Slack or update on the PR, whatever is needed. I'm going to be online for most of the day today and by tomorrow, just to make sure this release happens. So please feel free to just ping me if I need to do anything around that. I really want to make sure we get that ready. And that's basically it. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dominic. Okay. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
All right. Yeah, my computer's acting funny. Anyway, blog post. As Dominic said, we could use a working group review. There's a couple small commits I've added in, Dominic, but you know, the challenge with the blog post, if anybody takes a good look at it, it's a bit long, but it's comprehensive, and I think it really shows that we've got a lot done. Hopefully it's readable in a way that's helpful for the users. The presentation, there does need to be some work done there. We've put this as a second priority to the blog post. And again, we need the working groups to kind of review one, who the subject matter expert will be, and then provide an update on the slides that they want to present. I believe there's a slide for two recently added ones, one for KFP Tecton. I don't know if Tommy or someone else will want to present that. Is anybody from IBM here or the Tecton team?
Hi Josh, Ion here.
Hey,
Yeah, like I said, I will discuss with Tommy. Yeah, and see if he like to present. If not, then I can present. Yeah, either way.
okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that section, unfortunately, I did not have material for, so if you guys could check that out, maybe you've already updated it, but that's wonderful news. Thank you.
Mhm.
Just one
Um,
thing, Josh, that I wanted to say before, but maybe my microphone was out.
Yep.
Off. Yeah, I have to leave a bit early, so if I have to say something regarding Ray or some other agenda items, then it would be good to cover it in the next 20 minutes, if that's possible.
Yeah, why don't we go to that, because that is a topic that actually is on the PowerPoint presentation as well as in the blog post. I would like to continue statusing users and potential users on how we're doing there. So why don't we see if we can get an update, and maybe this will help us both write the blog post properly and the presentation. So with Ray, is there some status that you can provide for us that might be valuable?
Yeah, to be honest, there were just small changes. After the last meeting, Kimono has enabled the workflows. They are successful. Also, the Kevin from Anyscale, the company behind Ray, did some small changes to the documentation. I think what I would like to test now is that Kevin deploys the, because so far Kevin deployed the Ray cluster in just the default namespace, not a Kubeflow namespace. So the sidecars were most likely missing. And this is something I would like to check again, that because by default the istio sidecars are injected. And I would like to see whether Ray continues to work with that or whether we have to disable them. But otherwise, I think this is the first step to be merged. It can be merged, and later on we can add additional stuff, user interface and so on. But this depends a bit on Kevin and yeah.
So are we asking Kevin to build a Kubeflow cluster?
He already did. I just needs to test some stuff there. So far he tested in a default namespace. Now he should test in a normal Kubeflow namespace where also Jupyter Labs run and so on. I think that's all what is needed so at the moment. I mean, I could also do it myself, but yeah, I'm also busy with other stuff. So let me check.
So we need help building a Ray cluster with a Kubeflow namespace. Is this right?
Within a Kubeflow namespace, yeah.
Within the Kubeflow namespace to check the that
I can also send you the link. I think this might help. Let me see the chat. Yeah.
The pods injected.
This is what it's all about.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the pods are being injected with the with what? The secrets or the environmentals? What's being injected into these pods?
By default, in each user namespace, if you start any pod, then Istio will come up and inject its sidecars and init containers. That's the default for all user namespaces. And I have to check whether this somehow harms the Ray communication. Or Kevin has to check it. That's all. Because so far he tested it successfully, but without the in a namespace that doesn't have the injection, which is unrelated to Kubeflow. Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Okay. So I guess the we still need users to express interest. Is this right?
I think there was this last time I provided the link about the Ray integration to you, if I remember correctly. There was already this GitHub issue and a lot of interest. This is why I picked it up in the first place.
All right. So if there are any users either listening now or potentially to this recording, we could use some help in testing documentation of this configuration and providing feedback to the team. Are there any other open PRs besides this 2383, or is there anywhere else that people can get?
I think there was another issue about Ray integration, but maybe it's linked in the PR, and all the other PRs that we did on the AnyScale sites, they are already merged.
Okay.
So there's also a documentation inside 2 pages about the architecture and so on. So if you go to the issue, most likely you should see the Google Documents links, and yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there.
So in your opinion, is this a phase 1 POC? Is this a phase 1 alpha 1? What do we call this, just so we can kind of
phase 1, this is Ray integration, but without the graphical user interface. Similar to what Selden is at the moment. You can install Selden, but you don't get a user interface.
So you don't get a user interface. So does that mean you don't get a Ray, you don't have access to Ray from the Kubeflow user interface, or like the central dashboard?
Yeah, exactly.
So you're using the CLI, right? Basically?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, this is great. This is great. First step, I think this was right in line with what we laid out in October when we talked about this. Anything else you want to talk about, Ray?
No, I think that's it. That's fine.
Okay. Is there any ideas for a phase 2?
Yes, I think Kevin at AnyScale is allowed to use some percentage of his time for working on Kubeflow integration. I think around 20%. So we could, and there were some people who expressed interest in providing, some other companies and users who expressed interest in providing the user interface.
Okay, perfect. I like it. Any
Maybe
questions?
you could link the
Any questions from the community on this?
I think we should somehow link the original issue. I'm not sure where exactly it is, but maybe I can find it and put it in a chat such that they see the original issue on the Kubeflow, in the Kubeflow repository.
Okay.
I think it's actually, yeah, Ray on Kubeflow, issue 6680. I will post it in the chat. This is the original one, actually started by you.
Yeah, there you go. Well, this is why this is why I need to be able to cut and paste stuff. All right, let's go on to MLflow. Is there anything, I know that Concurrent Project and Infinistore and those guys have dropped out. You had done a little bit of work, right? Or something along this lines? Is there anything as an update of MLflow integration?
Completely stalled. Does not seem to be much interest anymore because they are mostly not focused on MLflow, but they are something similar to Kubeflow pipelines. They call this concurrent. Yeah, but they did not spend more time on it. And I know companies who are willing to work upstream in general and who are working on providing MLflow, just the normal one, not this special Infinistore concurrent stuff, but the normal MLflow. But it will take a few months. I have to discuss this internally.
Okay.
Maybe.
So
Yeah.
I think it's fair enough for us to say, look, we've investigated this, it's stalled, we need user interest. But there is a possible path. We just have decided to put it on the back burner?
No, yes, and the different focus, because they were not focused on the normal ML flow, they were focused on something else, the guys from Infinite Store. And I actually know a few companies who are using ML flow within Kubeflow. It's possible, most of them doing it in a very insecure way, but I think this is also solvable over the next half year.
I think the topic is a bit misleading. Julius talks about some company that did something with MLflow and Kubeflow together, right? But not like native MLflow integration.
Yeah,
And
that's this top part.
I think native MLflow integration into Kubeflow makes a lot of sense, as Julius said, right? And I think we should have at least a tracking issue for that or something like that, right? That there is interest, right? But this will be something different than mentioned here.
Well, no, there's two items here. This concurrent implementation is one thing.
Yeah, this is where you could put in the stalls and so on.
Right, this is
Because
all
this
on
is
hold,
important.
right?
Nobody is working on it, but
Right.
the ML flow stuff will be tackled at some point in time, I think. I just need to persuade some people.
Okay, I don't know whether we want to call this basic or native or whatever. I don't care, but we can stop statusing on this one and just go into this native integration, right?
Sebastian, since you proposed it, I think it was Sebastian. Maybe you could. Yeah.
No.
Maybe I just got the voice, not the name.
Yeah, you're right. It's me.
Yeah, maybe you could create an issue for that and link me.
I can create the issue, yes, but remove the stalled, the second bullet, right? So the stalled is the other one, right?
Yeah. Maybe we can also talk sometime about it, because I'm not joining your German Kubeflow meetings anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where we're at the MLflow. And since we're here in this section, and Julius, you may need to jump, maybe we'll go to the security team and get an update on that. And where are we with the security team? Amber, anything you would like to give an update on?
So I had asked everybody to give their input on the documentation, and so I've gotten a lot of input. Now I have to like put that all together, bring it back to the security team, and we'll continue working on the policy and procedures doc. I did do the pull request to get the directory added to Kubeflow. I'm just waiting on it to be approved because it got kind of long because I was adding notes. So I was waiting for it to get merged so I can finish adding past meeting notes. So we do have that. In the notes for the security team meeting, we also do have the recommendation for the SBOMs and that the list of images, and we will have the CVEs available upon request. So we do have all of that. So we met our goals for the 1.7 release, which was form a team, figure out what the policy and procedure structure was going to be, figure out where we were going to home our documentation and get that approved. So we have that, and then figure out what images we were going to scan and make that available. And also for the first time ever, come up with a list of CVEs that we could share upon request. So we've done all of those things. And now we just got to keep working on the policies and procedures to get those not only finished for 1.8, but also get those ready for the transition meeting.
Actually, one interesting thing I noted, because I went over the CVEs together with Diana Antonasova for the KubeCon presentation. There are some duplicate entries and so on, some text not being replaced, I think. So this is just an upper limit what you will have as CVEs, because some stuff is not used actually or is counted twice.
Yeah, we've got a lot of cleanup to do, as you pointed out, Julius. Because this is the first time we're doing it. So the other thing that we did was those organizations that were scanning from Cap One to Canonical to Ricto to others to get together and compare their scans to see if everybody was getting the same thing, make sure everybody was scanning the same images. and so that we can give instruction going forward. So we did notice that there's going to be some cleanups that we have to do.
Amber, when is the next meeting?
Next week, I believe. Let me just double check. And it's on the Kubeflow community calendar as well, but let me just double check.
So those are on Wednesday. That's probably April 5.
Actually, the transition meeting is next week, and let's see. Oh, wait. Oh, it's tomorrow. Our next meeting is tomorrow. So,
Okay, so that would be the 29th of March,
yep,
right?
at 10 a.m. 10 a.m. my time, 8 a.m. Pacific.
Okay, good job, good progress. Those are both items. These items are captured both in the PowerPoint presentation as well as in the blog post. Let's keep moving along. I'm going to come back to the CNCF transition. Maybe we can talk about the Kubeflow user survey. Is Anna here?
Yep, I'm here.
Anna, I know you've been working hard on the user survey, keeping Janu and I in line. How do you see this coming along, and what's your feeling or update that you would like to give on this, if you would?
Yeah, so last time we shared, Stefano actually volunteered to review. So after that, I think we're actually ready to release, but I think we're waiting for Google to approve. Is that correct, Josh?
Yeah, typically we do have someone from Google provide a review of this. I don't know, is there anyone available from Google?
I just, yes, I'm here. So
Okay, could we get a contact from Google to look at the user survey and perhaps provide a review, and it looks good to me for us on this? Would that be okay?
sure, do you have like a link to an issue or any doc?
Yes.
Yeah, I can share it with you, Adlai.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
All right.
So once that's reviewed and all good, then I think we can still meet the April deadline that we set.
Okay, so look, now we're getting into the fun part, which is now we need, after we get all these approvals done, so we need to go out and get people to respond. I think in the past, probably the highest amount of responses we've received is about 170, or I don't know, I'd have to look. Anna, you may know off the top of your head. I think it was 2 years ago. But we do need some help. Right, so people that are in the Kubeflow community, if you're in the distribution, especially, and you have users, forwarding this on to your users and asking them to answer the questions, I think it provides valuable feedback. And the information's shared, so everyone gets a benefit, both the users, the distributions, the working group leads. So I really encourage folks to answer the survey, and also to try to get at least 1 or 2 other people that that are involved to go out and answer the survey. Anna, anything else that you would like to ask about the survey, or any other kind of feelings you have at this point? Do you feel pretty comfortable with it?
Yeah, I think it's pretty good survey focused on contributors. So a very Kubeflow focused this time. So I think it would be very helpful if people could fill it out. And I think the insight that we will gain from this survey would be valuable to the community. So
Yeah, and so here's kind of the thought. We leave the survey open for some period of time. I don't know that we've discussed the period of time, but let's just say we open it for April. It goes through KubeCon. It's things that people can talk about at KubeCon. Hey, answer the survey. Would have been nice to have the survey results before KubeCon. But that said, if we get the survey results in, most of them together by, and we close the survey out sometime, end of April, beginning of May, I don't know. We should have and be able to present the results to the community in the May timeframe, hopefully. I don't know if that makes sense to you, Anna. I'm just throwing it out. If you want to talk about it, we can do that separately, but that seems like a decent turnaround, 30 days to answer the survey. Do you think that's right, or do you think they need more?
Yeah, I think from last year and the previous years, I think the survey is typically just open for 1 month. So I think that makes sense.
So that'd be like 2 community meetings. We'd remind people, everybody in the working groups could, and hopefully by the end of the month, then our goal as that team running the user survey is to get the results back to the community, maybe by the end of May. If not earlier, if we could get enough results enclosed by the end of April. Okay, I think that all makes sense. Any final comments, questions on the user survey? Wonderful. All right, let's move on to the KubeCon EMEA. Any updates or comments? Anybody wants to talk about this, especially around the lunch in the venue? Do we have a date picked?
I don't know if Anna or Stefano's on. I mean, not Anna, Andrea or Stefano's on, but if they're not, it'll be the Thursday lunchtime at KubeCon. So I believe that's the 18th or 19th? Anyway, the 20th, I guess. So it's 18th to 20th or whatever. It'll be that Thursday. And then I don't know. I haven't seen the results of the sign up form yet. And nobody, I mean, you don't have to sign up, but it's just nice so we know how many tables that we need to sort of hold on to and not let anybody sit at. So if you're going to be at KubeCon and you want to join us, because there's lunch served, so we're just encouraging everybody to get their lunch and come over to the tables. And once they close that survey, we will reach out to everybody who included their email address and stuff, and we'll put something out on Kubeflow Discuss as well.
That's great. I have found that those in-person meetings, especially at KubeCon, very valuable in networking with folks. A lot of fun, and actually can help you when you run into tough issues to be able to reach out to people and ask them for help. So I encourage everyone to who is going to be at KubeCon to please make an attempt to join in that meeting and provide feedback of when you would like to, and if you can, fill out the form so they know how many people. And also, probably most importantly, is to show support for the team. I guess we've got Julius and Diana presenting, hardening Kubeflow security for enterprise environments. And that sounds like a very applicable presentation that would be good to get the recording for folks that won't be at KubeCon Amsterdam, because that sounds like a gift that would help a lot of enterprise customers. Any more comments on KubeCon EMEA?
Yeah, I think as far as I assume, they have to publish their stuff some point later on YouTube. I'm not sure. Maybe someone else has more information regarding that. Yeah, and what we are presenting there will also be a documentation and guidance for the security working group. Definitely, yeah. But anyway, I can provide the slides in the end. I just don't know about the recording.
Yeah, the recording tends to come a bit late. They hold that back, but hopefully we can get a copy of that and provide it to the community. I think it would be very valuable. Okay, I'm going to move to the CNCF transition. I don't know if James Wu is here. James, are you on? I don't see him. Okay, I'll give a quick update here. We did have steering committee update. There was discussions, and we wanted to get, quite frankly, better communication with the CNCF TOC. And Google has great, helpfully ask one of their CNCF, one of their employees who's also a CNCF member, I believe on the foundation, to discuss the process that projects go through as they go through the incubation process and the due diligence. And that, so I think that's going to be a valuable session. As I remember, this was to be scheduled for April 4th. I have not seen any details on that yet, but I believe this was supposed to be done in the CNCF transition meeting that we typically have, which I believe is next Tuesday, April 4th at this time slot. So that may be about a 10-minute update with some Q&A to get some ideas of what they've seen from other projects and what foundation members have kind of seen in their experience. In addition, we talked about perhaps, and I don't know if dry run's the right term, but there is kind of a collection required of the artifacts needed for the due diligence. And our thought was that we would collect the artifacts and then have subject matter experts kind of go through and provide a 5-minute or less update on the artifact. There's only about, depending on how you count, maybe there's 6 to 10 questions to walk through. And if we have folks that are there that can provide succinct answers and the artifacts are ready, I think we can go through these fairly quickly. Any of these one topics could take a long time to talk about, but the idea is that we would be able to provide at least a fairly succinct answer to the question with a few artifacts. And if they want to dive in deeper, the subject matter experts there to provide more detail. So we thought we would run the schedule, that dry run of the review of the due diligence questions in the checklist on April 4th at this time during the CNCF transition meeting that we normally have posted. So any questions on that update about the CNCF transition? Okay, I'm sure there'll be questions. We're going to keep moving forward because we have a lot to cover. Is Stefano here? Is anybody here that wants to talk about the design language improvements proposal? Is anybody provided comments on this? I know he said he got a few comments. I really like this. We're going to pick this back up in early April, but there is a document that needs to be reviewed by anybody that's doing UI work. Please take a look at it. I'm going to move on from that because I don't see Stefano here. There was a very nice proposal by Janu. Janu, I see you on. Do you want to talk about this AutoML conformance testing proposal at all? Could you give us a minute or two on this?
Sure. So, so this has been a one task that we haven't done for long time. So we have started discussing about it during the start of the release, and things have progressed thanks to Ajay from my team, who's actually worked with lots of effort there. Got the training operator conformances already in Kubeflow repository. So that is already merged. And we are working on the cat side of it, and hopefully like we'll get that merged in 2 weeks from now. So once we have that, then the pipelines, training operator, and cat tip will have conformance test. And post that, we would have a discussion with the Google team, James, regarding the plan for distribution to verify via conformance test for every release. So that is the plan now. And right now, for people to try it out, they can do that like from the Kubeflow repository in the conformance folder. The training operator is done and CATIP is on the way.
Great, great. And is there any particular ask to the community that you would like to help wanted? What would you like folks to do by when?
So in general, what my proposal to the community would be like, you basically use this for our testing, release testing. So this is a very easy way for someone to test it out by having conformance test for individual components. So because for example, training operator has tests for every framework, like in a very minimal way, with just 4 gig of memory and minimal CPU. So this would be a very easy way for someone to test it out with commands in Makefile. So with few commands in Makefile, you could deploy test and see whether it's successful or not. So we should try adding that to GitHub. See, GitHub, I'm not sure whether we'll have that much resources in GitHub, but again, some way to test it out, because that would be the easiest way for the manifest team to say something is ready from our side.
So this is really wonderful, right? I mean, there's several areas where this is hitting on, where we've had feedback from the community, where we need to, provide more documentation, improve quality, whatever the question is. I think this really gets to the heart of the matter, is that we're providing these tests that folks can run to validate the environment, whether they're distribution or DIY. And it'd be great if people could pitch in and run these tests and provide feedback. I think is a good request, wouldn't you say, John?
Yes, and post CATIP changes as well. Like I will request Ajay to have a 2-minute or 3-minute demo during the community meeting to say what are the expectations out of this and how do you run the test. So it would be pretty easy for someone to try it out in just 2-3 minutes.
So we'll have a demo to be scheduled in an upcoming meeting.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Wow, this is great work, and done basically right out of your guys' initiative. So this is exactly what we want to see, right? Any questions on the AutoML? I know that I referenced the document. Is there a better PR or something else that we should reference people to go look at inside the Git repo? Is there you said that?
Yes, so the issues are created. There is one issue which is which has important links to all the things that we have discussed now in training operator, and one in CATIP. So yeah, I would request everyone to just take a look at that. And there is a PR in the Kubeflow repository trying to refer to all these other PRs.
All right. So if we could please get a copy of where people should start or whatever in those and add it into this document at some point, that would be great, I think.
Yeah, I'll add that.
Thank you, Janu. Wow, great news, man. That's really cool. We have some kind of weird things happening. I'm going to move on if that's okay, Janu. Okay.
Yes, please.
With the registry, and it kind of brought up two things. One, I think Docker was changing their policy, and then they found out that people didn't like the new policy. So at least I think they changed back, if I captured that right, where they weren't going to get rid of the free option or limit the free option. I'm not sure that I read it all completely. But it does bring up that we have images kind of spread out across maybe 1 or 2 different registries. And perhaps we would want to talk about some type of policy about where we're going to keep images. I don't know if that goes with this Docker change, but I see the two kind of interrelated. Any comments about one, about the Docker change, and then also about what we might want to do long-term around registries?
So I would like, since once we have the migration to CNCF, I think we'll have a better registry policies. But at this point, we should either ways try to get that open source proposal done, because that would help us in avoiding all these rate limiting issues for our images. So if we can start a proposal, like if Google folks can create a proposal for the Docker Hub, Kubeflow Docker Hub, maybe we could actually use that.
Yeah, everyone, like I agree. Like I think for the long term, like we have like Kubeflow registry already, and a lot of members there, they're not active right now. I'm talking about Docker Hub, Kubeflow one. So Google Teams, I mean, if we agree, all of us like agree, we can make a paid subscription for this registry, and give a permission to the folks who are actually active in the community, right? Because we have a lot of limitation because we're using the free account right now. We cannot add more people. We cannot like, I believe we have some limitation pooling, if I remember correctly. So it's probably not scalable, right? But we need to find a consensus, like if all working groups agree to use Unified Registry for all of the images Kubeflow uses.
So if I understood what some of the threads said, is that there might be multiple registry names inside of Docker Hub for Kubeflow. Is that correct? There's not just one Kubeflow registry?
I don't think you can create multiple names, right? Like currently what we use today, right? So KDIP using one registry, training operators using Kubeflow registry, notebooks using their own registry, similar to central dashboard, and pipelines using, if I remember correctly, GCR. So the idea is, I mean, at least maybe when we migrated fully to CNCF, just using unified registry for all of the images, right, that we have across Kubeflow. And since we have Kubeflow as the domain name, and I can share the hub in the chat, maybe we can reuse this one, right?
Yeah, if we can get that one to a free community, a community hub, I think everyone should just migrate to that, because there would not be any other changes than changing the org name. So it would be pretty simple. But I think foremost we have to create that proposal, and it might take. I'm not sure how much time it takes. In community, people say that like it might get approved even like in a day. Some are waiting for a few months as well.
So
yeah, I don't know if yeah. So Josh, I remember like someone from KServe team, like they told us they're already waiting for a year. Do you have anyone from KServe working group, like a KF serving team? I don't think so. Okay, yeah, because I remember like they commented they were already like waiting for a few months to get approval. But never mind. Go ahead.
I have a question. So one of the things that was discussed previously was also using AWS. Is that also in the discussion, or did you? I guess this is a question for John and Andre.
So Anna, you mean like using not using Docker Hub, right? Using another registry?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I mean we've been using Docker Hub for almost 5 years, right? I mean there are like a lot of proposals using what is like GitHub registry or ECR, but we need to like be concerned like regarding to, because I remember like for example for ECR back in 2019 it was not supported in some of the regions. So we probably need to find a registry which is like can be used across all the world, right? Especially in different regions. And if we can like an alternative to Docker, I'm open to this. But we need to find like the pros and cons of this, right? Because Docker is, I mean, widely adopted, right, across different companies or organizations. But I mean, I'm okay to make. Yeah, go ahead.
As options, Josh, you might also add Quay and GHCR, which is the GitHub native one. GHCR maybe just makes sense because we heavily use GitHub Actions, and that's really close to it. I'm not saying we should do it, right? We just should list the options we have, right?
Yeah, I think we should consider all the choices right now, since we are instead of like just focusing on moving to one Docker org, maybe this is a good time to evaluate other options as well. Because Docker, I think one of the problems with Docker was that there was a rate limit as well, right? That's still a problem, if I understand.
But
Yeah.
do you have rate limit for paid accounts?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Do you have rate limit for like paid accounts, not free accounts? Like if you're going to,
I'm not sure.
Because
So
like, yeah, go ahead, Sebastian. Sorry.
The two options I proposed, they provide free accounts and also something like CVE scanning, at least for Quay, I know. For GitHub, I didn't try. But maybe we should even be open to publish images to two different registries. So as a kind of a backup scenario, you know, when one image registry is not available, you still have a backup, which might be useful for some enterprise customers.
Yeah, I mean, I think we just need to start the thread, Josh, for this kind of like, because it's like kind of a long-term process. I mean, it might take like a couple of months for us, and maybe we should do the final agreement after we like at least migrating to CNCF, right? Because I don't know if they have any policies where your images should be located, or like it's up to the community to decide, right? So we need to discuss this. Or
you know, I like this idea of trying to organize this. I think it flows well into the security team and us getting inventory and answering a question, what is Kubeflow and what exactly is included? So I think all of this makes sense. We probably need to ask at some point some folks to consider taking a leadership position on this and trying to organize perhaps what's the criteria to evaluate. And are we going to always end up with multiple registries if Kubeflow Pipelines is always on GCR?
Josh, I think, like was just brought up, we should find out what the CNCF recommends, because eventually we're going to be there. And if we decide something now and it goes against whatever their policies and stuff are, then we're redoing it again. So maybe finding out what they recommend and then going from there.
I have a similar thought process, because anyways, we have started on Docker. So if we can get a free Docker version approved, I think then nothing else to be done, right? So beyond that, we might be duplicating lots of work since CNCF process is already there.
Is there a deadline to when we need to apply if we go through to the Docker?
no, so the main point is here what Josh said, like Docker actually agreed to to not decline this kind of like the pre-registry for the people, because like the community, they still want to use this kind of free account. And Docker agree, like we're like fine to using these images for the long term for now, like what we do today. But as we mentioned, like as the long-term solution, probably we should not use like free accounts that we use today. Does that make sense, Anna?
Yes, but isn't it so you can the old images won't be deleted, but it's about the new images, right? If we don't take any actions, like sorry, I'm not really up to date with the Docker news. So Yeah.
Yeah, if you check like this blog that Docker published recently in March 24th, they said like they're no longer to sunsetting the free team plan, which means like we still can use the free team that we use today because they just stopped sunsetting this. If that makes sense.
I see. So even if we don't take any action right now, it wouldn't affect us anyway.
Yeah.
But we want
Yeah,
to.
that's right.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
That's right. But as Sebastian mentioned, like we still have like limitation of like pooling increments, and we still cannot like add new people to the team because we cannot only 3 people there, and there are like a lot of limitations we have today for the free team access, for the free team.
Rate limiting is a bigger problem in general.
Yes.
Okay, so we have the open issue here, right? And we're tracking this, right? And so, but it may be mislabeled at this point. Should we use this issue to drive this and track it, or should we open a separate new issue? I'm just trying to get to a place.
Yeah,
where
we might need to.
track this.
Yeah, we might need to coordinate because we have another issue in Kubeflow 1 and training operators, I believe. So I don't know like what community think, but maybe it makes sense to create under Kubeflow, right? And just continue the discussion there. Like maybe just name it like long-term process for publishing images under Kubeflow community. I don't know.
I actually have to leave, but just a final thought here. We might have the same question for our CI system, right? So at least get alignment with the CNCF for how we build things, because some things are built in GitHub Actions, some are built in the Google infrastructure. It's also a bit messy here.
Yeah, okay, so it's 11 o'clock. I can go a little bit longer, but I would like to finish. This does seem like an important issue. I don't know whether we want to leave this open until next time. We do have an issue that we're using for tracking. I think people could put their comments onto this. You can see that it's important and should be addressed. I'm trying to look for guidance about what we do. What is the definitive next step that we can track for the next time we get together in 2 weeks?
So I think Josh, like as we mentioned, like for the next step, we just need to have guidance from CNCF, right? As we mentioned. So we just need to have a clear guidance, like what do we need to do to migrate all of our images, right?
So
then
this
we
would be
need
a good one
we can
for
just-
April 4th when we get together next week. Hopefully, this is like so. This goes back to this CNCF transition meeting, which I did a bad job of providing kind of an update on. But I am going to ask if you have questions about the CNCF transition. This would be the time on April 4th to ask those questions. So this would be a technical question to ask. Perhaps they can answer that. Maybe they can. But one of the things that the steering committee did recommend was getting a list of questions together that we have around the CNCF transition. This could be one of them, but I'm sure people have others. And I guess we need a Git issue to perhaps track the issues from the community. Git issue to be opened to track questions to CNCF registry, use of Slack. I'm sure there's 10 other questions, right? Or 50 questions. Okay, sorry to hop around there a bit, but at least we have an idea that we brought this up inside the community, raised its profile, and we're taking notes on it, and hopefully we'll get organized on this registry review question. All right, we're over time. I appreciate everybody's contributions. I'm going to stop here and ask, are there hot topics we didn't get to? I do have a couple topics for next time. One of those that I would like to bring up and have people think about is awards for contributors. If I look at, how we build the community, one way is through partnering with people like MLflow, Ray, Bento ML, those types. The other is perhaps rewarding the contributors, providing some type of unique rewards. I don't know what those are at this point. I have some ideas, but I'd like people to start to think about that, how contributors could be rewarded, people that are helping the community.
I think the
and-
least we can do, Josh, I think we can list them in the blog in a blog, maybe in the same release blog or maybe as a separate blog post. So I think that would be a easy way to appreciate their efforts.
Yeah, I do believe that the blog is a great way to give people exposure. And I do think that there's I think there might be even a larger, more concrete types of ways to reward contributors, but I'm gonna. I just want to put this as a placeholder to something that people should think about how we might be able to talk, and how either distributions or end users that are getting benefits from contributions from the working groups, or whomever, that they have some way to, lack of a better term, compensate the people that are playing, that are contributing. So that's an early thought there. And then the last piece, which I think gets to what we're seeing a lot of good natural growth, is talking about how do we do better user outreach. These New York community meetings, Amber, I know we didn't get to this, but we are now. If you're still here, is there anything that you want to bring up around the community meetings that you're talking about, having the traveling community meetings?
Sure. So the one that we had scheduled for April, unfortunately ran into a snag at Cap One. So we have to push it back till June. I'm just waiting on the to lock in the date. They needed some extra security as we were bringing in people that don't work for Cap One. So we're working through that. The other thing is, if anybody here, you or your organization, wants to sponsor one of these, let me know so we can get it worked out. We can publicize it. Bring it to the greater other communities. So if you're in, near, or around like the Kubernetes space, that includes us here at Kubeflow. So we're not just limited to what we talk about here, but if there's distributions, if there's adjacent technologies, anything like that we could get people to talk about and come together on, and you have a facility or your organization wants to pay for drinks or something like that, let's talk about that and see what we can schedule between now and the end of the year, and go ahead and start publicizing those.
That's great. Thank you, Amber. And, to add into that, if I look at the strategy pieces of growing Kubeflow we laid out, in October, partnerships, MLflow, Bento ML, Ray, perhaps better meetings, training, those types of things, just like you're talking about here, Amber. And that can go over particular topics, whether it's going over security, whatever. And then finally, I think providing some type of unique rewards for contributors. From a strategic growth standpoint, I think that these are ideas that I'm putting. I'm not saying that they should be the 3 pillars that we build upon. I'm saying these are 3 that I think we've done a pretty good job of following up on, some of them. And perhaps they will help us continue to grow the community if we keep going in this direction. So We're about 7 minutes after. Anything that we missed or any topics that need to be on next week's meeting, the next meeting, anybody
Just
wants to bring up?
Sorry, just last small point, like regarding to your contributor awards, I like 100% agree. Like just from my thoughts, like taking a look what Jupyter community is doing today. So they have a thing called distinguished contributor, and they actually published the list of contributor, which is like heavily contribute for the last year to the Jupyter projects. So we can maybe learn something from other communities what they're doing, and I think we definitely should like have a clear process for our contributors as well. Like maybe putting them in a blog post, maybe putting their, you know, like contacts and other things for every, I don't know, release for every year. Make a lot of sense. Maybe we need to have a separate page on the Kubeflow.org website, you know, like to recognize significant contribution across different projects. But I think we should like follow up on this definitely, because it will help like people to see the value for their like the outcome of their doing for the community, right? It is not only for like kind of like how many PRs they created or how many like code they committed. It's more about what the value for the project they delivered, right?
Yeah,
so yeah, yeah, good.
that's what I was going to say. Like, if we just look at, you know, a lot of communities just look at what people do that can be tracked on GitHub, and there's more, you know, there's more contributions than just that. So we have to make sure that we're, you know, we're looking at how to reward and or validate and reward, you know, all contributions. So I'm glad that you brought that up.
Yeah, I'm trying to bucketize all this usability, outreach, reward, training, perhaps even compliance type of things into some form of way to help people get involved in an easy way and understand they've got a path, right? So I don't know what the term is here, but I think we do need themes, big themes of strategy with tactical deliveries underneath them. And there's a lot that we're trying to get done in these different spaces that are kind of correlated. Okay. Oh, one last thing. Dominic, are you still on?
Yes, I am.
Thank you, Dominic, for staying. Do you have a preference for the PowerPoint presentation? I know we have a deadline now. What we want the slides to be done when, and when do you think would be an appropriate time to do the slide presentation?
So I would like it to be done by the end of the week, the slides themselves, and the recording, we could do it by next week. I think that would probably be the best timeline that would work for everyone.
Okay. So if you are a subject matter expert who is going to present on the presentation, try to get your slides done by the end of the week. And do we want to pick a date now? Do we want to pencil in a date now? We've got most of the people here. Do we want to say like a Wednesday or a Thursday? I don't know. I think we have Wednesday next week. I think we may have a meeting next week. Anybody have an opinion on a date and a time? Thursday AM? Any opinions?
Maybe Wednesday. Sorry, go ahead, Andre.
For the demo, you mean, or for the review?
For the PowerPoint presentation, you know how we go through each slide and we have people do the presentation of it from each working group.
But I guess, okay, one of like the final release. Can you like remind me the date?
Release should be Wednesday. The slide deck
release is tomorrow.
Friday.
The release is tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah.
But we're going to do the presentation a bit later and publish it later. So it would be good if the slides are done by this week, and then we can maybe record on Wednesday, the same time as this community meeting starts.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to just maybe ask people on the Slack when they're available.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, lack of a better term, we're going to ask for Wednesday at 10 a.m. next week. That's where we'll start. If that doesn't work, then we can work it from there. I just want to give people a heads up. Dominic, does that work for you?
Yes, it does.
10 a.m. Pacific. all right, or not 10 a.m. Pacific, whatever, 8 a.m. Pacific.
8 a.m.
That's-
Pacific, yeah. 10 a.m. Pacific is a bit late. Yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to be central. Okay, we did a lot today.
Josh, I had one more thing right quick.
Go ahead, please.
We had talked about stats. I started putting together and how long
All right.
things open. If anybody wants to take a look at it, I'm going to finish up adding the ones that aren't there. Keep going, scrolling down. The open issues, because we had so many, like if you go to how many, there's 2,102 issues open across all 37 repositories. So what I did was started breaking it down so you could see the number of days and how many open issues were in each repository. So we could start taking a look at that. Even if there's valid ones, if you're an owner of one of these, or you're, are active in one of these, on one of these repositories, please take a look at it. And if you can close an issue, close an issue. If there's one that's been open for 400 days and it's still valid, close it, talk to the person, close it, reopen it, so it doesn't keep adding to our, open, how long we've had issues open. Because as you can see, some of these like 300 days, 400 days, 200 days. So I just wanted to briefly mention that so we can start cleaning these up, because even some of the publicly archived repositories have open issues in them. So we need to get those issues out of the ones that aren't even active anymore. We need to get those open issues out of there because they are counting against the overall stats for the for our project.
Yeah, okay. So folks see that. I think that's fantastic work to provide us this visibility. And any questions on the statistics? I think these are all going to help as we go towards, obviously, the due diligence and showing the how the community is doing in terms of commits. Anybody have a guess of how many commits we actually did in 1.7? I think Katip said they had hundreds of commits, or the trading operator. I'm just trying to figure out how many commits were in 1.7.
What's the official start date of it? I'll tell you right quick.
I don't know, what was it, about October, say November to now?
Tell you right quick. I'll just say November 1st till today. How's that?
Here's right here from January to now, it's 800.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll pull it and just drop it on the thing if everybody. So I'll go
I mean,
November.
that's incredible. 800 commits, right? That's a lot.
I just have a comment about the stale issues.
Yeah.
I think there's like a stale bot that's actually broken. So that might be something to look into.
I think Matthew told me when I was talking to him about it that he actually disabled it because there were some stale issues that were still valid. So rather than just close them, we should be reviewing them and then closing them. So I think he actually disabled it, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah.
It's kind of strange. Like, I don't know, like usually you can put like the frozen label on the issue with a stale bot if you don't want to be closed. I think we need to discuss it actually, because I also like that the bot is broken today for a couple of months.
Yeah, I think we should revisit that because it's a lot of issues for working groups or people to look at. So it's probably better to enable the bot or whatever the issue was. Like, I think we should take a look at that.
Yeah, and we actually like stop doing like the triaging, right? Because we don't have many folks actually can work on this. So the bot at least helping us to notify that the issue has been stale for a while.
Yeah, I'm not as worried about the stale issue thing, but I guess we should, just good hygiene, we should try to close out things that we're not going to work on, but you know, the backlog, if it's not reviewed, then it really doesn't help keeping it. So that's the other side. Maybe we do need to put it as a topic for what to do about stale issues. Okay, I'll put that on the issue. Good one, Amber. What to do about stale issues. I'll put that on the topics for next meeting. I also have another question for the community. Certain partners and distributions have created blog posts that are associated with 1.7 that they would like to link to in the 1.7 blog post. So I guess this is a heads up to folks that I think it's fair for a distribution or a partner who has done significant work and has created a blog post and is asking that they could have a link to their blog inside of the 1.7 blog post. But if only one or two people have written a blog, that means that, you know, as you're reading through it and you say, okay, now I get to distributions, there's only one there. For in this case, it might just be Canonical is got 1.7 available in a blog post. They would be the only one that has a link from the Kubeflow blog post, the official blog post, into a distribution. So I don't know. I don't know how to handle this request exactly right now. I think it's fair to for Canonical, for example, to ask. But I don't know if I should do this in short order, like right now, because I'm not sure all the other distributions are ready with their blog posts. Any opinions on this? Is it okay for me to allow a link to Canonical's blog post from the Kubeflow blog post?
I don't think we have a policy on it. I think it's fine, but what if another distribution says, well, I didn't know you were going to do that, so I didn't prepare for it, and our blog post is coming out a week from now. So maybe why instead of us linking to them, they link to us, and then we come up with a policy so that it's fair across the board and nobody feels, you know, like they didn't have a chance to participate.
I think that makes sense. I don't think we really need to link blog posts from distributions. I think we should leverage, we can share them in social media and all of that, but I don't think we need to include that in our own blog post.
Yeah, the only thing that I would drive to is that the success of the distributions allows for success of the community. And, you know, Canonical has always, and maybe that, you know, been, you know, first in a lot of times to support the newest release, and shouldn't they be rewarded? Right? Shouldn't the people that do the early contributions, IKS, Canonical, be rewarded? This is the thing that I go back and forth in my mind.
Sure, if we have a policy that's fair across the board and not just somebody coming to you or somebody else going, hey, I want to put this in here, that we've published something so everybody, and that is also a way to get other people to contribute and say, oh, well, here's our policy, so think about this for next time. And that doesn't mean we can't amplify their stuff. Like the rest of us can, like you can add it to your LinkedIn, I can add it to mine, I can tweet about it, like whatever. If we can get the official Kubeflow stuff, we can amplify it. But I think until we have a fair, this is how you do this, then I think it opens up
Favoritism.
and some criticism that maybe we don't want to.
Well, you know, I've always liked Mark Shuttleworth, so maybe I'll give him some favoritism. Just joking there. Yeah, I think that there have been people who have been dedicated to the community that have been, you know, investing appropriately. So there does need to be a policy here. And those folks should be, that do the early contribution should be rewarded. So I think in this release, I agree with you. Since we don't have a written policy, we're going to do what Dominic and Amber suggested, unless I have other people that feel opposite. But going forward, I do believe that there should be a policy, and the people that do, if we can help them, we should. That's my opinion. So I guess that's a heads up to folks. Okay. But I'm willing to discuss it more if that doesn't make sense. I think that's it for today. Going once. All right, Dominic. Great job, buddy.
I'm hanging in there. Anna and I are trying to fix this blog post. We'll get there.
It'll all come together. It's going to be great. I would, you know, close on this. I think this may be the largest release we've ever had. And I think Kubeflow, far and away, is in the best shape it's ever been. So that makes me happy. I appreciate everybody's help.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you so much.